Caleb, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you here. Let's delve into the reason we have you here.
Okay.
You are part of 700 young African leaders, all doing amazing things that were brought here to the United States for 6 weeks
Right.
for fellowship, mentorship, and networking.
Right.
Talk to me about your journey, man.
It's been an amazing, incredible journey, really. Just coming here and meeting other cohorts from 25 African countries. I was at University of Texas at Austin, and for 6 weeks, amazing stuff that we did. We had crazy academic sessions that was so inspiring. I think that it changed a lot of my mindset and scalability, how to go back home and impact.
Now, during the summit, there was a question that was asked, which aligns with what you're supposed to be doing, where someone said, how do we change the narrative of how people see what Africa is?
Right.
How has your experience in America helped with you being able to equip yourself with the necessary skills to tell Africa's proper story?
I think one of the top on the list has been the fact that we had opportunities to do like site visits. Because again, like I did mention, I'm into cinematography, which is a core part of actually that narrative, telling the stories. And when I first got in the first week in Austin, I was still trying to figure out my way around it. But I've realized that there is so much magic in the little things in the USA, like something as tiny as how the street light changes for people to cross, and some things that it doesn't take so much to create impact. You know, there's that little thing that can just change the perspective for people. We also had the opportunity to go to South by Southwest, which is concerned with festivals and entertainment and how they portray all of this. I remember I did ask if they are shining the light on African music, but again, that brought me to the realization that we need more light on our own stories. We need to tell our own stories in our own voice, because somebody's telling our story from out, they cannot give the perspective of what we are really living, because our experiences can actually really, push the way our stories are heard outside. So I think being in the US has made me realize you don't have to start waiting for it to really be so good before you put it out. Just start putting it out anyway, and then the world's going to embrace it eventually.
To now forward to recent times, over the past, arguably since Black Panther, I would say, African stories have really been the forefront of what I would call Hollywood.
Right.
How helpful has that been in terms of shaping Africa's narrative?
For Black Panther, I would say, it's fictional, but I think it gave a dream and perspective to it, because again, Black Panther is talking about is in relation to uranium and the mineral resources and how it's split by minerals. Looking at Black Panther, is that what Africa should be? Yes, is the potential for Africa to be that it? Yes, it is. And even when you look at the woman power, the woman king and stuff, portraying the strong African, because really in reality, the African woman is really the foundation of Africa, or powerhouse of Africa. So I love the way the stories are being told. I love that portrays that narrative and stuff. But again, like I always say, can we come to the point when Africans themselves, who live the realities, are more inclusive in the stories? And I'm not talking about, let's say, Black African Americans who are living here, who are probably going to get on these shows and try to play the accent.
Impersonate it.
Impersonate. I want people from Africa who come to them, train them, and say, this is the role that we want you to play. They understand the realities, and then they can be able to really portray that. And it's amazing stuff. I think that is really playing a narrative, because even there in Austin, we had our academic session, Professor Doggett, who was giving that as an example and saying, Black Panther is not just a movie, it's actually really it portrays the power that Africa has and what Africa can be.
As we wrap up here, I'm really curious, and I'm glad that you just brought up where you're from, Cameroon.
Right.
Countries like Cameroon, Mali, Burkina Faso, as much as there's the beauty, there's also the negativity that's coming, which is, for example, stories of insecurity. Now, unfortunately for Africa, the insecurities was highlighted.
Right.
But how do people like you toe that line of telling the reality that there is insecurity, but also showing the beauty of Africa?
Right. So an example that I have is Dan. There's a guy, I'm doing his story right now, and Dan lives about 12 hours away from urbanization. Mm-hmm. And you already know there's been an unrest in the English-speaking side of Cameroon, but Dan saw an opportunity in that because he has a talent that he harnesses. He's using appropriate technology to create impact in his community. And there hasn't been electricity in this place for like 2 years because of the crisis. So those who supply electricity can't really have access. But what Dan is doing in this place is really what I was concerned about the environment when I went there to highlight it, because it's so mind-blowing, using solar power, solar panel energy to create irrigation farming so that he can be able to have these women in the village. So I actually I'm presently working in partnership with him to see how we can use this, all what is going on. Because what happens is with crisis comes a lot more things that the indigenes of the community suffer from. So how can we keep the ladies, the women who of course are the powerhouse of this community with digital skills, and also help their hygiene and sanitary conditions, and help them to keep their minds educated with all of these facilities of renewable energy that we're working. So it's one thing that I'm doing, and that has really been my focus. I don't want to go and highlight the story is not that, oh, there's war and then there's killing, because that's obvious. I think politicized media does that.
Right.
So my role is to highlight what is happening inside here that is positive anyway, because there is always a light somewhere at the end of the tunnel.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking time with you, and I look forward to having you on more of our programs, man.
Most definitely. This has been such a pleasure for me. I've been looking forward to be on VOA for like a long time. Thank you for having me.
Welcome home. Thank you.